thank you everyone for joining. We're delighted to be here for the fourth talk of the Kala Times ASAP series. And we are here today for the talk Artist to Artist, Crafting Narratives in Community in South Asia with Hema Shironi and Munem Wasif. I'm going to start, some of you may already know what Art South Asia Project is, but I'm going to assume you don't. So I'm going to start with a little introduction to what we do. We're based in London, and we're a non-profit arts education and development platform. We were set up in 2021. We support the infrastructure of modern and contemporary visual and applied arts in South Asia by working on programs, partnerships, grants, and we work with what we identify as the 5 countries of South Asia, which are India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Nepal, and the UK. So we're delighted to be here for the second edition of Kala, and thank you to Saskia, Michelle, and the entire Kala team for having us here. I'm going to start with some thank yous. We would like to thank Kala's founding partner, Cinema Life, City of Dreams, the official banking partner, Hatton National Bank, the exclusive media partner, Vijaya Newspapers, the Rukmini Tisenagayam Trust, and the Urishant and Angelica Fernando Foundation. This program would not be possible without the generous support of the Faisal and Shabana Foundation and Kisagoy. And thank you for all of you for being here, and we look forward to this wonderful conversation. And thank you to Wasif and Hema for being here too. So this talk is going to take place for about 45 minutes, and then we'll have questions. So we hope all of you will ask some questions. I know Hema is very kindly offered to take any Sinhala and Tamil questions as well, so we can translate them. So please do ask if you're curious. I'm going to do short bios for each artist. So this is Hema Shironi. She is a Sri Lankan multidisciplinary artist who lives in Colombo, and she completed her BFA from the Ramanathan Fine Arts Academy at the University of Jaffna, and an MFA at the BNU, Beacon House National University in Lahore. Most recently, she's been part of the Asia Pacific Triennial in Australia. And I'm going to give Munem Wasif a short bio. He's got a very long bio, so I'm going to shorten it. But Munem Wasif is an artist who works with image-based works, and he's from Dhaka in Bangladesh. And he is also a professor at Pachala, or lecturer at Pachala Academy, and works on the Chobi Mela Festival. So I'm really delighted to have you both here, and I know we've really enjoyed preparing for this talk. I'm going to ask you both the first question, and I'm going to start with Hema, which is if you could talk about your approach towards creating and developing narratives in your practice.
Okay.
And tell me when to move slides.
Yes. We can go for the slide. Yeah.
Not working? Sorry.
Someone can help.
Yeah, it does. Oh, you have to get it on that way.
No worries.
Maybe, Tita, do you mind just clicking through? Oh, there we go. Okay, question 1.
Thank you so much for having me. So most of my works are based on my grandmother and my mother's story, their lived experiences. So I was so blessed to listen my grandmother lived experiences as my bedtime stories. So it's always gave me like to imagine visual narratives. So here I choose my mother's story. So yes. So my mother was born in Kandy. She moved to Kilinochchi when she was very young. So when she back to her native place, it's not safe place to her. Let's say she's not much know about Sinhala. Her lack of Sinhala knowledge, she couldn't stay at home. The neighbors thought that she is a spy from LTT. So what my father did, so whenever he go out, he just took her with him and he left near to this lake. So it's a heritage of Sri Lanka. So it's called Dalada Maligava. So every day she spent her whole time there. So she started to go and worship there. So every day, 3 times a day, she go there and she did all worship stuff there to be safe. She don't know about how to pray and all, but she follow what others did. And also she started to count the government buses. So Sometimes my father will get down from one bus and he took her from there to home. So it's a one single story behind this all landscape. So yes, it took almost 33 years to recreate it because it's a kind of my pre-born story as well. She was pregnant and 22 years young lady. So yeah, after 33 years, I and also when we moved to Kilinochchi and when we back to Kandy again, my mother, whenever she saw this place, she always tell this story to me. So it's about my born story. Yeah.
Thank you, Hema. Do you have another work you want
Yes,
to talk
I
about?
have, but do we have time? Yeah. Okay. So this is Sri Lankan flag colors. You could see the different colors, 4 colors. So yes, as my mother and my father, they moved from Kilinochchi, similar to them, my other aunties and uncle also moved all over the Sri Lanka. So they got married to different cultural background people, let's say Sinhalese or Muslims. I came from like a multicultural background family. So when we moved, my auntie, uncle also moved from some area to another area. So my grandmother, she had 12 kids. They scattered due to this conflict. So again, I'm connecting these colors together. That I'm saying it's a family. I'm not talking. It's connected to society, but it's all about my family history and story. So I choose like cut off materials from tailors, and I made these bricks as a brick, and I stitch over the nets to bring that stories here. Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Hema. I'm going to move on to Wasif. Please excuse the slides. There are going to be quite a few, which we're going to have to flip through to get to Wasif.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Mala and Noam, for inviting us here. Thank you, Saskia, Michelle, and everyone in Kala for organizing such a wonderful event. I was very happy to be here when Mala sent me these invitations. But I had so much work, so I was confused if I should really come. So I'm going to speak quickly about one of the projects that I'm doing for last almost 10 years. It's called Sit Shall Set Us Free, and it's about the history of rice, jute and the indigo production in Bengal and how it connects to the colonial legacies of ecological violence, to the past and present resistance in the movements of Bay of Bengal. But when she started speaking, asking us about narratives, I was thinking it took me almost 12 years to go away from narrative, because by medium photography is so much connected to the narrative. Whenever you show a photograph, people want to ask you where is it, how you have taken it, who is in the photograph. People want to know all these informations, as if there is no value of looking at image beyond this material metadata informations. And when I started working on this project, I remember we were going to Tangail, which is a 2-hour far from Dhaka city, to see an indigenous festival. And one of my friends told us to have a break, to have a lunch in a place called Noy Krishi Andolon, which means New Agricultural Movement. And I knew about this place, but I didn't have much clear idea. And we went there, and I remember when I started eating, I felt, wow, how the food tastes so well, because we were just eating simple rice, vegetables, dals. So I asked the guy, like, what is there? Like, why it tastes so good? Why it doesn't taste similar what I eat back at home? And that guy smiled and he said, he gave a very simple but prolific answer. He said, because whatever you eating, we produce it with our own hands. We didn't buy it from the market. And then I started to roam around, and at that time in the research center, there was this 100 different kind of rice placed on the fields to dry, and I started looking at this rice. and thinking why they are separated, because usually in the drying field you have like a huge amount of rice that people are drying, and they were in that research center, they were distributed in circles, and there was these tags of names. And then he told me, because these are all different kind of rices. And I started to think, oh God, I eat rice every day, but I really don't know there are so many different variety of rice that exist. So then I started researching also the history of the food politics in Bengal, and I started learning about the genetic modifying politics that is happening through World Bank and all these multinational corporations, because we are looked at as a developing country or a struggling country, and they need to genetically modify some kind of crops like potatoes, tomatoes, which will survive 12 months. But then it doesn't have any taste. But who cares of it? Who cares about taste if you're poor and if you're struggling? As if people who lives in villages, they don't need to test food, they just need to feed themselves. So it really triggered me, and I started doing this research and working with this research organization. But at the same time, I was also looking at this history of colonial legacies in Bengal, how the farmers were forced to produce indigo on the rice fields, because indigo was very high in demand in Europe, especially in Britain. And the farmers were only forced to produce indigo. And if you produce one crop in a land for a long time, it really kills the fertility of the land. And usually in Bengal, people used to produce multiple things in the same land. Also because they need to eat different things. They can't just eat either rice or spinach, So I started reading this book by Amartya Sen, who is a very famous economist from Bengal, who looks at the causes of famine in Bengal, and he speaks about how these native crops, both jute and indigo, were forced, the British East India Company forced the farmers to produce, and how the relationship has changed. And I also, while working with this research organization, if you can keep the next slide, I learned so many different things, and I was challenged in so many different levels. So this is installed shot in Pompidou. I was working with a curator called Catherine Ware. And this is the second iteration of the work. The first iteration of the work was a series of cyanotypes. And just to go back, so I was really interested in the materiality of the seeds, the fragility, the textures, and how it creates forms whenever you throw this on the floor. And I was interested in this light-sensitive drawing, and because I was reading a lot of different kind of literature, and when she spoke about narrative, I was also thinking about how this historical violence was laid in many different levels, this ecological violence. So I was really interested in this idea of blueprint, so I used this technique, a very easy technique called cyanotypes, which was used for architectural blueprint in our early age. And I thought this blue is speaking about the indigo revolt that happened in Bengal against the British Empire. And on top of that, I want to have these rice seeds, which is almost like working as an act of resistance. And then in the second iteration of the work, I was really interested how farmers believe in certain form of coexistence of different kind of materials. And when I first went there with a set of questions like Mala have on her paper, and I asked the farmers, they started looking at me weirdly. And they were asking me, why are you asking so many difficult questions? And I was like, because I want to know. They said, why don't you open your shoe and just get down on the field and be little, like, get out of your middle class comfort, academic mindset, and just spend some time with us. And that was also a very political question, because they have completely changed the narrative how we learn or how we research, especially when we come from cities and come with these baggages of modern knowledge and look at science as something So I wanted to have this coexistence of multiple beings and non-beings. So there are landscapes, there are documents, and also I was interested in the materiality of the paper, and I want to build these complex narratives where it's not only my work, but it's a collective work of a generation of activists, archivists, farmers, poets. Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much, Wasif. I wanted to pick up on materiality, as you mentioned it a few times, and come back to you, Hema. So obviously, materiality is essential to every artist's practice, but what is the significance of the materials that you choose to work with, and how have you found they've changed over time? Again, sorry for me clicking really quickly.
So I trained as a painter, but when I moved with my mother, I couldn't afford and I couldn't get traditional art making stuff in Kilinochchi. So slowly I started to work with found objects. So my mother and my grandmother, they were good at tailoring. So my house filled with cut off pieces, so it's accessible, and also as a girl it's easy to work with that material. It's not, I'm not categorizing myself, but that in Kilinochchi it's not easy to do like there is no people who are more into art. So that's how I started. Then slowly COVID also guided me, I can say, to work with found objects. So when I was at Beacon House National University, so university got shut due to the COVID. So the students from local in Pakistan, they left the hostel, so they just throw their junks, their materials, sometimes their food, and few of them are gifted their stuff to me. So I kept with me, and slowly I started to work with those junks. So almost my 2 years masters I have completed with those wastage materials. So here, the first slide, back please. So this is from my grandmother and from my mother and my aunt. So these jewelry boxes are empty boxes which my mother kept with her. So whenever we we moved almost 15 houses within 20 years due to the conflict. So everywhere my mother just kept these empty boxes with her. So you can see a few images which I have stitched the houses. So these images are from this is my first year birthday photograph. So it's happened in Kandy, I guess. So these images also my mother had like her own archive. So I just got it from her and I stitched. Even my mother, she used to tell about the landscape and about the structure of the house. I am not much know about the house, but the events. So I started to stitch those house construction or the building on the top of the photograph. So later, when she moved to the permanent house, she just gave me these empty boxes to me. So if you want to work something, here I have these boxes, just I want to pass it to you. So later I place these valuable memories on the boxes. So you can see different addresses is written on those boxes. It's not the same area. It's in Kilinochchi, Matale, Jaffna, Kandy, Colombo. So wherever they moved, they got valuable stuff and it was empty. So they just passed to me. So that's how I work with this series. So again, yes, another one. Let's go for the next one. So this one, okay, that's my mother more into family, my father more into society. So my father is leftist. So again, my house always filled with his banners, hand tubes, sometimes stencils, whatever he used for his works. So these papers also I use as my drawing books most of the time as a kid. So this is a poster from his one of his meeting. So just it was there. Then I started to stitch all over the paper. Can we go for next slide? Yeah, you could see the front of that paper and the back side of the paper. So this is about the political events, what happened in Kilinochchi. So I started to stitch those small houses on top of that paper. So after war, there are many construction still happening in Kilinochchi, but it's not completed yet. So I want to, even we also didn't get the house funds due to some reason. So I want to complete those incomplete landscape within these wastage materials. So somehow the material also has its own story and narratives, and it gives me to work on it. So that's how I work. Still, it's like good.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Hema.
Thank you.
I'm going to do another diagram flip through and move to Wasif to ask you about materiality and your materials and how they changed over time. I know we're going to focus on a specific project.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is fine. Yeah. Maybe you can stick up the image. Yeah. It's difficult to speak about this project in such a short time because these are very complex in nature and need a lot of context. And actually, a lot of these projects are long-term projects that it took almost 10, 12 years to develop. So this is a project called Dark Waters, which looks at the migration at Bay of Bengal in the sea. And this speaks about the Rohingya refugees who were forced to flee from the Rakhine state to Bengal. And I started visiting the refugee camp in 2007 when I was a very, very young artist and photographer. And after working 3 years, I felt miserable because I failed to really bring any sort of thing they were going through. Because I felt that photography was not strong enough or not complex enough to represent the kind of complex things they were going in their head. And then when 2017-18, when the massive influx started to happen, I decided not to go there because there are already too many images. Most of the images were very violent, and I felt there is no meaning of producing more images that you are seeing in the newspaper. But I was asked by the Red Cross to do some stories about 3 families. So I went there in 2018 and started speaking to the refugees. But while walking there, I read about this one case study of a guy called Alam Safo who came from Myanmar to Bangladesh through a boat. And he lost all of his family, and it was a report done by Associated Press. And it was a very different kind of report. And when I read the whole story, I felt it was so striking, but because at one point he spoke about while they were fleeing through the sea, at one point the water and the sky was so dark they couldn't see any land, and they didn't know where they were. And they didn't know what is the sky and what is the land. And I started thinking about this construction of borders in South Asia, how we define what is Bangladesh, what is India, what is Pakistan, what is Sri Lanka. And all this modern state actually were designed through very colonial, violent mapping. And we are still fighting over these lands and borders. And Rohingyas are one of the communities who were in the border of Myanmar, live across generation in a state called Arakan, which disappeared when there was a modern Myanmar and modern Bangladesh. And nobody wants to accept them. Bangladesh says they are from Myanmar, and Myanmar says they are from Bangladesh, and they're stuck in the middle. And when I read the case study, I was so struck, but I didn't know how to really speak about the complicacy they were going through. So I started thinking about how to photograph the sea, which is extremely a traumatic space for these refugees. But for Bengalis, it's a place where we go for holidays. It's a blue sky and a beautiful white sand. And it was this paradox which was tormenting. And then you can't see any of the images. Then I decided to photograph this blank sea, which looks so dark. It's a small set of prints that you really have to go close and see what is there. You can't see anything. And I paired them with this series of texts which was ambushed on a handmade paper. And I developed this text while speaking with the refugees. But my main interest was also this materiality of representation. And I felt that it is more powerful sometimes when you don't show things. And I think this inability of photography or the world not able to see certain things is more powerful. And I want the audience to imagine what they have going through rather than to see. So I will just read few lines. Each text speaks about different hours. It took them 3 days from the mountains of the Rakhine state to come to the shore of the Bengal. And there were 80 people in the boat. 50 of them died, and only these 20 people survived. And within those 50, most of them were children. Bodies clinging to bodies, spine against spine, nowhere to move, nowhere to breathe. Time passes, maybe an hour or two, maybe more. Dark skies, restless sea, cast of violent winds. Where are we, O Mati? The color of water changes, its sense changes. The once sweet water, now salty. We are now in the middle of the sea, Bay of Bengal. So the whole project actually, it has 4 chapters. Maybe we can go ahead. Looks at also my dilemma of working as a photographer in difficult situations. And I started, can you move on? Yeah. And I started while speaking with these refugees. I had to sit 3 hours in these small tents. And while speaking with them, it was so difficult to hear what they've gone through. And a lot of times I was just crying. And at one point I saw, can you go back? At one point I saw this small object called Spring Song. And I look at the graphics and it's written Mali. And I knew this is not from Bangladesh. This graphic, this title, this name, it can't be from Bangladesh. So I asked them, where did you get it? She said, oh, we are using it from our childhood. And I was thinking, how can you carry a face cream while you are fleeing your home, while your home is burning, and you're just trying to save your life, and you pick up these small cosmetics to carry with you? And that really struck me. And I started looking at what they have in their small tents. And I found there is so many different kind of things. And then I start also thinking, I only want to see them as refugees. But they're not refugees, they're human beings. They have dreams, they have hopes, they want to look beautiful. Can you move? And go back, sorry. And I noticed, they all wear these sarongs, which mostly comes from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, and through the border. And also in Bangladesh, in that part, people wear this dress. And I was amazed by the graphics. So when you go to the refugee camp, you see all the women, and they wear all these beautiful dresses. But then you see the photographs, most of the times, you see them as strange human beings, because everybody wants to photograph them as refugees. But they're not refugees, they're human beings, We tell that they are refugees. So I was really interested in this idea of border, in idea of how do we really box people in multiple ideas. So I developed this work called Spring Song, which looks at the series of objects, 3 kind of objects. One kind of objects that the refugees carried from Myanmar while they're fleeing. And then the second of kind of objects that they have built in the refugee camps, because they are not allowed to go out and buy anything. So there is this constant, this idea of recycling, rebuilding, reforming, and then the kind of documents they have carried even while they flee home, which speaks about, either they have a land in back in Myanmar, or they have an ID card, because it's a proof that where they're from. And I picked up all these colors from all these sarongs. So I scanned all these sarongs, and I created this temporary studio in the camps, because I want people to see how I was walking, and I didn't want to take anything out from the camp. So photography was really a powerful medium which is able to reproduce these images and not necessarily take away. And it was really interesting, a performative activity, because then all these people started to bringing different materials. Maybe we can quickly go through bringing different kind of materials from home, or the kids, they will bring their toys and tell me to photograph. And there is this amazing, there are so many stories of how the kids are making toys, or what is important for them as human beings. So it took me 10 years to understand that how you can look at actually about the materiality of life, and how you can look at people as human beings and not as subjects.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to move back to... Jim, I'm sorry. I will ask the question anyway, instead of the side. I'm going to break this question up into two parts, but I was just really struck with yesterday when Zara, Shahana and Megal were talking about how South-to-South cultural relationships and solidarities were much more prolific in the 1990s. And I wanted to, out of those kind of points of thinking, we've got Sri Lanka, we've got Bangladesh, I'm Hokkain, but also just to think about working across multiple geographies in South Asia. To what extent has cross-cultural dialogue shaped your practice? I know you studied at BNU in Lahore and you're based in Sri Lanka. I wanted to maybe start with you.
Can we go for the slide? Yes. Okay. I was moved to Pakistan in 2019, I guess, to do my masters. So it was Easter attack happened in Sri Lanka. So my father is from a Catholic background. So most of my relatives are not support or not happy to send me to Pakistan for my studies. But I was strong that I want to go there and to do my masters. So I didn't get my visa on time. Everything got delayed. But once I go there, I started to see Sri Lanka as a stranger from outside of the country. So from their different background, let's say from Muslim community. So still we have a good relationship with them, still we have. So as a Sri Lankan, we always portrayed our land that we are from multicultural background and we have different language, languages and 4 religions, I guess. So because of that, we're trying to show that, not trying to show, but somehow we're trying to protect our own cultural heritage and stuff most of the time. So in this series, I just pick few photographs from even in the local buses, you could see the goddess image on top of the sheets. So I pick few photographs from them and I print them on paper, and later I use southern part of Sri Lanka. We have different Buddhist temple, the colonized temples, so the paintings are not much it's related to Sri Lankan history, but the way they painted, it's from British government. Sometimes the influence from British. So I use them as a curtain of Sri Lanka, or to cover what actually happened within the country. So the thing is, I was searching for a material actually to get a net fabric to do this project, but unfortunately I couldn't get it. So what I have done, I started to stitch over the printed surface to make it as a net fabric. Later I wash it off, so you could see there is few particles are just left. So I'm speaking about what is left there and what we are trying to protect as a Sri Lankan. So I'm from the I'm saying that I'm from a multicultural background from this land. So when I was in Pakistan, it's different. It gives me a different perspective of Sri Lanka as an island. So we can go for next slide. Yes. So this is my self-portrait, I can say. So these are the food plates. So every day I started to take photograph of my meals and I start to send to my mother and to my father. So that means I'm safe here. I'm safe here. I'm having a good meal and I'm be good there. So these photographs become a self-portrait of mine. So here I just cut them. I cut the plates from the photograph and I stitch the landscape or the map where I'm sent those photographs to Sri Lanka. So we can go for the next one here. This is a Kilnochi, the heart of peace and hope. So my house is it's near to this monument. So every day I send to there. So it's a landscape which I'm not lost. Sometimes I feel that homesick. So I want to go back home, but I couldn't go there. Sometimes like I need to stay with my family, but everything is like border was closed due to the COVID. So the connection between me to my family, and also I'm not alone there. Still I can say Pakistan also my house. So I have like, even if I go today, I can stay with my friends. So the relationship with Pakistan or with me, it's more close. So yeah, that's how I narrate these stories. And if we talk about India, so with the language and cultural wise, we are more close to India. So we can go for next. Yes, here, this one. Due to the crisis, we got many essential from many countries. So this is essential from South India, Tamil Nadu government. So this is a rice bag, which they gave to us due to the crisis. So my auntie got this rice bag and she sent to my mother. So what my mother have done, she just filled the rice bag with mangoes and she sent it to me to Colombo. So I got that bag and I thought the font was missing. So if you get any essential from Sri Lanka, you could see the Sinhala font there. So it was missing there. So I started to stitch. So here I stitched the Tamil Nadu Makkalidamirandu Anbudan. So from the people of Tamil Nadu, in English, the Anbudan, the love is missing. So I stitched Adarayan, Tamil Janatava Vising Adarayan. So I add the Tamil Anbudan in Sinhala. So it's a landscape. Again, when we all moved. Let's say, so I born in Kandy. So my great grandparents also came from India. So I have that identity. So someone, again, why are they giving this essentials? So for what the purpose? What's the need? So who are they getting it? So these are the conversation behind this work. So I use just a rice bag to narrate that story. Yes. I guess Munim can talk about the relationship with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka than me, I guess.
I think you've both been doing a lot of
Yes.
research
Yes.
on this, so would be interesting to hear what you said. When I asked the question, they were like, how are we going to find out what happened between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka? And I was like, it's fine, it's also interesting what might be a gap. But please do, Wasif, tell us what research you've done.
No, I knew there was a lot of historical connections between Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. But sometimes when we're thinking about a contemporary times, sometimes it's difficult to connect those dots. And I know the early connections were through architects. So I called one of the eminent architect called Saiful Haq, who founded this organization called Chetona and who was a student of this iconic architect Mazharul Islam in early 70s. And he told me, basically in 1985, through a Aga Khan conference, Minit De Silva and Jeffrey Bawa actually visited Dhaka for a conference. And nobody knew about Jeffrey Bawa at that time in Dhaka. And he was not in the speaker list. And someone requested him to speak a little bit of his work very informally, and he went to the stage and talked a little bit about his work. And at that point, from this generation of architect of Saiful Haq, they were amazed to know about the regional architecture. And at that time, people knew about Charles Correa and all these great Indian architects, but very few. And from that point, actually, there was a lot of connections between Sri Lankan architect and Bangladesh architect, because a lot of them were actually connected through this Aga Khan award. They were in the juries, they used to meet in different places. And also, I spoke with Shoaibul Alam, who was my mentor, who founded Reed Pathshala and Chobi Mela International Festival of Photography. And he used to actually come here in early 2000, to organize many workshops, which were supported by Walpress Photo, a Dutch organization. And he have actually so many students. He had friends with Dominic Sansoni and so many different people. And then there was also, this Triangle Art Network. We have Brito Art Trust in Bangladesh. There was Tirtha in Colombo. There was Vassal in Pakistan, Khoj in Delhi. And Lipi told me something very interesting. There was this organization called SANA, which is the South Asian Artist Network. And they used to meet actually every year, either in Colombo or in Delhi. And it was fascinating to hear all these different people who are not really connected. They're all different disciplines, and they have all done these things separately. And I feel like, while we were growing up, especially looking at the history of visual arts, the way we taught, there is very few remarks of regional artists and regional architects, musicians. It will be mostly these great Western artists that we have grown up through. And I think we really need to look at the pedagogy, and how we train ourselves and how we learn things. And I feel like there needs to be a much more solid exchange in South Asian countries, how we can really develop a decolonial curriculum and learn about each other before learning about great Greek and Roman and Italian Renaissance. There was also a different kind of Renaissance in our part of the world, which is not known as Renaissance, There was also a world before we were colonized. So...
Thank you. I do have more questions, but I'm also conscious of time, and I wanted to make sure if anyone in the audience wants to ask a question. Also, again, if you want to ask it in Sinhala or Tamil, please do. And no, Jed, I'm going to give you the mic. And yeah.
It's not really a question, but just to add to what you said about the Triangle Arts Network. So I was kind of involved in TIFT at the time and also went to one of the conferences in London. So when Triangle was in existence, I think they connected the globe. And Sala was also within that. And so it was very active. There's a lot of connections there between Pakistan, Bangladesh, you said, and I think even Kathmandu at one time, Nepal, in court. Sadly, I think that connection has kind of dropped away a little bit. I mean, there are individual connections, but not as kind of institutions or bodies of people. And in terms of Bangladesh, I think when I was young, we were all taught to think of Bengal as being, that we were from Bengal, that Sri Lankans had this sort of Bengali connection.
Really? You know, I also wanted to say, I forgot to mention one thing actually. I was very lucky because there was a show in Dhaka, curated by Sharmani Pereira, of 100 Sri Lankan artists. And it was such a remarkable show, not because there was great work, but it's just the length and the depth of the show that she curated. And I got to know actually for the first time work of this great Sri Lankan artist called T. Sanathan, the Cabinet of Chambers. And I think I knew how the works were shipped. I knew what Diana have to do, how they have to come to Sri Lanka and take these works physically because there was shipment was impossible. And a lot of times when I look at these networks, you know, the question of funding is extremely important because we always dependent on these foreign institutions like the Goethe Institute, All East Crosses, British Council, but they want to support their artists. You know, if you want to do a huge show of Sri Lankan artists in Dhaka, who is going to give you money? And also the state we have in South Asia and the kind of political relationship we have, it just makes it so difficult, you know, to even just to show a big body of work by any regional artist anywhere. And I think we really need to walk through this, you know. Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry?
I can ask one more question if anyone's thinking of one in the meantime. I mean, you briefly, well, not briefly, you touched on how you worked with the Rohingya refugee communities, but I was interested when I was researching both your practices that how you both engage significantly with local communities in different ways. So I'm going to hand over to Hema to just kind of understand. I mean, I was very lucky to come to your studio on Sunday evening, and just to understand how you work with artisans in your practice and local women.
Yeah. So after my degree, so I work as a craft initiative in Jaffna. So that time we produce old age craft into contemporary design. So I got a chance to spoke to that community to work with them. So what happened? We learned from them the old age craft, how to make the old age craft, and again we create a new design, and they learn from us to create a new design through that. So it's while doing that project, I was just listening to their stories and history. So then I thought, okay, we were from different region, but we have similar stories behind us. So that also helped me to talk about my family history, to connect with the society. So what happened? I started to read about them, and actually more than the reading, I was started to talking to them. It was easy. So it's craft making. It's not for art making, so it's easy to mingle with them. That means making art is sometimes many artists they need a personal space to create an art. But for me, I guess the craft making, it's in between, I guess, art and craft. So it's helped me to work with the community. So what can we go for next? Yes. So here, yeah. So this one, these are the stories from each family. and also my family story also there. So the second one is my family, the second image. So these are the house structures what we getting from Indian housing projects. So according to the family numbers, they build the house. So my question is, who destroyed the house, for what the purpose? So who, still few families are not getting these houses. Still they are waiting list. So even though if we need to get that house, we have to build not temporary house. So when you travel to north part, you could see two houses in one land. So permanent house and the temporary house. To get the permanent house, we have to make the temporary house. Then these pieces are these pieces done by the Aturgiriya woman where I live now, living now. So these construction buildings are new for them. So I just work with them, that I'm telling this story to them, and they were also giving me and supporting me to narrate the story, because they also having the same issues in different way. So these are the collaborative work with them. So you could see the embroidery done by the local woman. They were not trained as an embroiderer, but while I speak to them, I just ask them to do, then they follow the techniques. So and later I stitched this green mesh on top of it, and I stitched the family portraits. So each family portraits, you can see few of them are disabled, and a few of them are disappeared. So even my mother was waiting for 20 years to get her brother back. Still he was disappearing. So the stories of my family, I could connect it to the community. We can go for the next. Yes. So these are the bus stops from north part of Sri Lanka. So each bus stops are donated by local people. So due to the new construction developments, these bus stops are like destroying by many sectors. So these are not, I didn't take proper photograph, but while travel to Kilnoch to Jaffna, I just click by my cell phone. So these bus stops no more there. So these are the memory of these local people. So I started to stitch them. These 15 pieces done by me. I didn't share with anyone. So these are like miniature bus holes. So this one, yeah, no worries. So these are the landscape of these are the landscape of Kilinochchi. So again, when it's come to next work, the flag. So this is the Sri Lankan flag, which is represent different culture and two language of Sri Lanka. So these are single pieces. I connected them as a big bed sheet. So these pieces, you can see different colors. I moved each color in to another part. So this is the original Sri Lankan flag. So the red color, it's represent Buddhism, Sinhalese, and Tamil, it's represented by orange, and green is representing Muslims. So this is a current Sri Lankan flag. This is my imagination. It can change over the time. So someone can rule the Sri Lanka, or it can change, right? So according to that changes, I change the color, trying to fit myself in one color palette. It couldn't happen, it can't happen, but I'm still trying to make it my own. I'll try to make my own flag within these color flags. So for this one also, I just pass them the material, and they create these small single pieces, and also we had a like long conversation about the flag. They were not happy to do this, but somehow I got it. Not happy means there are many questions. Why are you doing like this? Why are you using like, it's a Sri Lankan flag, so we have to give respect to the flag. Of course, I'm also respecting it, but at the same time I'm questioning the flag. So that's how I'm working with the community now. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Do you have any? No? Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, is there anyone who? No? I'm gonna. Oh, there's if you could pass it to him, and then if there's any, maybe we can take one more, and then I'll wrap up.
Thank you. So thank you, Hema. Thank you, Wasif bhai. Thank you. So actually, it's not a question. The thing is, I met so many professors and faculties in the university. They actually, when I meet them, all of them that they say we used to visit Bangladesh for the Asian Art Biennale, and that thing is there. And like this, there was an organization called SARC that was there for regional cooperation. But now, if I talk about the last 15 years or 2 decades, things actually change a lot in the region, because there is a tension and control. Like if one country initiated one kind of like cooperation on any exchange with another country, then there will be another country, they will be start like nagging and complaining, oh, I thought you were my friend, so you were doing this thing is that and this thing is that. So that kind of relationship actually impact the cultural exchange and the exchange between artists, because many organization and in personal level, we have that connection with people around the region. But in terms of country-wise relation, then the thing start and it's become tense. So I think we, as a whole, we have to work together to reach a point that if there is with neighboring countries, there always there is tension, there is like exchange, there is cultural rhythm, everything is there. But at the same time, we should understand that one thing, that we are in a like geographically we are actually attached to each other, and we have large population. So if we are not friendly enough with our neighbors, then it will be a bad situation, and we are in a bad situation, and we have to deal with it for 100 years. So actually, I think we should all know and realize that one thing, and we should reach one point that there is no other option to become friendly with each other. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for all of you for joining us today. Thank you, Hema. Thank you, Wasif, for being so wonderful to work with on this talk. And thank you to Saskia, Michelle, and everyone at Kala for helping us make this happen. And we look forward to all of you coming to, hopefully, the talk this afternoon at 5 p.m. with Anisha, Kelly, and Yaroslav Polygon. So thank you very much.